Hey everyone, we're going through Verano Holdings today, one of the big tier 1 MSOs, multi-state operators in the cannabis space in the US. These guys have free cash flow, you wouldn't believe it. So that's nice to see in the space. They do have some tailwinds coming as well, which is pretty cool. I think these tailwinds and catalysts are going to rise all the ships here. So they're all going to get affected positively with any changes to the safe banking laws at the moment. None of the cannabis companies you can't pay with credit card. You've got to use cash. So much cash sitting on site. They can't use banks, essentially. It's a nightmare. Any changes there will be very beneficial. Also, tax breaks on 280E, the removal of that at the moment, cannabis companies get taxed on gross profit, which is terrible. It means that all their expenses are not tax deductible, which makes it very difficult to turn a profit. The fact that these guys are free cash flow positive is exceptional. And legalization across different states, legalization federally as well. All these things are great catalysts for the industry rising. All the boats sales would go very well and there'll be a lot of money rushing into this space. Stock prices will go crazy. It'll be a pretty big event if any of those things sort of happen, but they haven't yet and we don't know when they're going to happen. So let's just judge the businesses for what they are today. Now, Verano in 2021, they made 10 acquisitions, 10, at prices that are way above what they would have paid today. But that's hindsight bias for you. They were thinking they were doing the right thing capital allocation wise at the time, but they overpaid, crazily overpaid. That sucks, which makes their intangibles in their balance sheet. They have about $1 billion of intangibles and goodwill, mostly going to be tied up in things like licenses. You could argue that these are probably worth only a fraction of of the stated value. So I think write-downs are going to be happening in this space over the next 12 months. I wouldn't be surprised at all, which means book value, equity, things like that, that's going to decrease. It's going to be ugly if you're a fundamentalist like me. Anyway, another thing about fundamentals, George Akos, the CEO, he's actually the highest paid of the CEOs in the cannabis stock world. He's also the largest shareholder and he's the founder of the business. So I guess he can pay himself well and they're free cash flow positive, but honestly I think they're all overpaid. I don't think they need multiple millions of dollars just to run businesses that are barely breaking even. But anyway, George himself comes across as a bit of an M&A guy, not a cultivation guy. So I worry about the quality of the product that they're producing, and I also don't know whether he understands how to lower costs of production as well. Hopefully someone in his team does, but I worry about the nuances of that. I think it's actually really difficult to grow cannabis consistently. And look, I think the only difference I see between Verano and the rest of the MSOs like Curaleaf, Green Thumb, Trulieve, and we'll get to Cresco Labs, is that I think Verano are taking a bit more of a financial engineering approach to growing the business through M&A, which can be good if capital allocation is strong. I just worry that they just don't know those nuances of growing cannabis effectively, because cannabis is, if you're trying to grow a brand, it's really difficult. Because imagine, like, I use the example of Panadol, but let me use a different example of like McDonald's, for example. They became great because you could consistently get the burger that you wanted each time. Whereas, like, imagine even like, if I don't smoke cigarettes, but I can imagine cigarettes would be a similar deal. If you get Marlboro Lights or whatever and you smoke them, you kind of want the consistency. You know what you're going to get each time you get a packet of these cigarettes. And with cannabis, the consistency is just as important if you're going to build up any sort of brand in the space, but they don't know how to grow consistent product. And no one really is that good at growing consistent products. So I worry that the brands are worthless and that it's just a size first mover advantage that some of these MSOs are currently experiencing, but fierce competition will come in and eat their lunch because I don't think they're that good from a consistency point of view. That's my big question about all of these. And yeah, they made many acquisitions, yet I just don't see anything that makes them unique. Look, they have licenses, which people argue are a competitive advantage, and store locations, obviously. If they've got a store location of a particular busy corner, that can be a competitive advantage, geographical location. But I think that makes it just a nice business. I don't see any reason why other MSOs, or with rules open up, why more people could just flood the market and compete away their margins and compete away those competitive advantages. I don't feel very confident with any of the MSOs for that particular reason. Verano is no exception there. Now, regarding their footprint, they have 129 stores across 13 states. They've tapped out their capacity in Illinois, where they've got 10, which is the most you can have. They're the second biggest player in Florida behind Trulieve. And they have quite a footprint in Pennsylvania, along with the other MSOs as well, and a few scattered throughout the other states, but they're their big states. Again, there's nothing really exciting to be seen here. Now here on the screen is just a random, it's May 26th to June 1st, 2023. This is a volume of sales essentially. So we've got TrueLeave at the top with this is in Florida, there are 125 locations. MUV, which is Verano's brand in Florida, that's the 68 locations there. And we can see the disparity between like the medical marijuana in smoking form, in other forms as well. And we can see like TrueLeave for 125 locations sold, let's say just look at the medical marijuana stuff. They sold 130 million milligrams, of THC. So over 1 million per dispensing location. Whereas you look at MUV, they're more like half that per dispensing location. Similar ratio in the marijuana in form for smoking as well. So TrueLeave are selling a lot more in their stores in Florida compared to MUV, compared to Verano. So that is not a great sign. Now, if I look at some of the crude metrics for Verano, you'll see that they've got 48% gross margins, which are in line with the other MSOs essentially. Operating margins are reasonably okay at 15%, so that's good. They're about $1 billion market cap at the moment. Price to sales a little over 1. EV to EBIT at 15, same as TrueLeave. EV to EBITDA, about the same as TrueLeave as well at 6 times. Where are they unique? I don't see any reason why they're unique. Debt to equity is low at 0.37, which is good, and debt to EBITDA is low as well, so good to see that. Stock-based comp is medium. I don't like any of the stock-based comp from any of the MSOs, but they've got stock-based comp as well. Salary is the highest, like I mentioned, for the CEO, like I mentioned before, but he has high insider ownership, which is good to see alignment of interest at least. Verano is an OTC stock, so if you wanted to access this particular company, which as you probably hear with the tone of my voice, I'm not that enthusiastic about, but if you were enthusiastic about any of these, Interactive Brokers is the platform that I use to access the OTC markets in the cannabis space. There's a link in the description below for that. That's the one that I use, and that's the one that I recommend. So my overall opinion is that all those catalysts that I explained earlier, that's just going to rise the tide and rise all the ships with it. And I think that with Verano, based on the store count that they have and that they're generating positive free cash flow at the moment, means that they will benefit from all of these catalysts. They have been aggressively burning cash to expand, and that intangibles number I think is worth just a fraction of what the balance sheet suggests. That's an issue. Another issue for me is that I don't think they have a clear competitive advantage. Their operational excellence is mediocre, and I think even if they did have operational excellence in consumer products, I don't see that as a competitive advantage anyway, because competition is going to be fierce here. There is no brand recognition here yet. But they get bonus points for focus on and delivering free cash flow already. And if they can hit their guidance of somewhere between $50 and $75 million of free cash flow in very tough earnings conditions, considering 280E and all the other factors that they have to deal with, they're probably sitting at somewhere between like 15 or 20 times free cash flow. It's not crazy cheap, but considering the catalysts, I would actually consider this is cheap if the catalysts come forward in the next little while. But the fact that they're free cash flow positive makes it a big difference that they're going to be around for at least the short to medium term. I feel confident with Verano being here still, definitely different to how I felt about Curaleaf. Okay, so in my tier list, we've got Green Thumb and TrueLeave in the C tier, Curaleaf in the D tier. Verano, where am I going to put these guys? Well, they get a bonus point for being free cash flow positive, so that's good. But I still don't see any reason do they have a competitive advantage or not. I'm going to put them, let me rearrange these a little bit and put Verano at the top of the C tier with Green Thumb and TrueLeave just behind them. Something like that. I don't like all the intangibles on Verano's balance sheet. That makes me uncomfortable. They're only a C tier. I can't put them any higher than that. They're really the same as Green Thumb, TrueLeave, Verano. You could flip a coin to decide which one you like the most out of those three. They all have their pros and cons, but they're all significantly better than Curaleaf in my eyes. So I hope you're enjoying my little tier list that I'm making here. We got one more to go. We got Cresco Labs. I am going to put in a lot more cannabis stocks on this tier list to rank them around the big tier 1 MSOs. So stay tuned for that. We'll keep developing this as the year goes on. Like I said, I hope you're enjoying. Waiting on that Cresco Labs video to come, I hope, and I will see you then.